The 10 least known characters of the Bible. Today, we invite you to explore the mystery and hidden wisdom in the lives of the 10 least known characters of the Bible. Join us on this journey through less traveled paths of the Scriptures, where each story reveals a unique facet of the human experience and divinity. Number 10. Zapora. Zapora was the daughter of Jethro, also known as Reuel, priest of Midian. Her encounter with Moses occurs under providential circumstances after his exile from Egypt due to violently defending a Hebrew. Moses flees to the desert, where he saves Jethro's daughters, including Zapora, from hostile shepherds. This act of bravery leads to his welcome in Jethro's house and, eventually, to his marriage with Zapora. Zapora's most significant contribution to the biblical narrative occurs in a dramatic and enigmatic episode described in the book of Exodus. As Moses and his family travel back to Egypt, obeying the divine command to free the Israelites from slavery, they encounter a mortal threat from the very God who had sent them. The reason behind this divine wrath is not fully explained, but consensus among scholars suggests it was due to the lack of circumcision of one of their sons, a vital rite in the covenant between God and Abraham's people. In this critical situation, Zapora acts with decisiveness and sagacity. Using a sharp stone, she performs the circumcision of her son, throwing the foreskin at Moses' feet and exclaiming, "Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me." This act appeases divine wrath, saving Moses' life and allowing him to continue with his mission. Through this gesture, Zapora not only ensures her family's safety but also reaffirms the importance of God's covenant with Abraham and his descendants. Number 9. Eleazar. This is the story of Eleazar of Damascus, a lesser-known figure whose story holds deep lessons of loyalty and trust. A servant of Abraham, the biblical patriarch, Eleazar plays a crucial, though often overlooked, role in the narrative of establishing the nation of Israel. Appointed by Abraham to find a wife for his son Isaac, Eleazar takes on a responsibility that transcends mere matchmaking. His mission is divine. He must ensure the continuity of the promise made by God to Abraham, that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars in the sky. The task takes Eleazar on a journey that is both physical and spiritual, leading him back to Abraham's homeland to find a woman within Abraham's extended family, in accordance with the customs of the time. Upon reaching his destination, Eleazar prays for a sign from God to identify the chosen woman. His prayer is a model of faith and dependence on divine guidance, asking for a specific act of hospitality, that the woman would offer water to both him and his camels, as a sign of her suitability. The prompt answer to his prayer comes through Rebekah, who displays the generosity and servile spirit sought by Eleazar, marking a clear example of how divine providence acts through human actions. Number 8. Hagar. Hagar's story unfolds in Genesis chapters 16 and 21, where she initially appears as a secondary figure, a servant of Sarah. In an act of desperation due to childlessness, Sarah offers Hagar to Abraham, hoping that Hagar might conceive a son on her behalf. Hagar becomes the mother of Ishmael, marking the beginning of her tumultuous journey. After conceiving, Hagar faces envy and mistreatment from Sarah, which ultimately leads her to flee to the desert. Here, Hagar's story delves deep into the human experience, touching on themes of vulnerability and loneliness. However, she is not alone. At her most desperate moment, the angel of the Lord finds her, promising her a countless offspring through Ishmael. This divine encounter not only assures her survival but also elevates Hagar from her servant status to being the mother of a great nation. What makes Hagar's story particularly notable is her direct dialogue with God. By calling him El Roi, meaning, "You are a God who sees me," Hagar reveals a profound truth about God's nature. No one is invisible to him, and his care extends even to the most marginalized and afflicted. This moment is one of the few in the Bible where a woman names God, underscoring the significance of her encounter and the universality of divine care. Number 7. Ahud. This biblical character, though less known than others, played a crucial role in the liberation of Israel during a dark period of its history. His story is found in the book of Judges, chapter 3, verses 12 to 30, a narrative that not only captures the essence of faith and divine liberation but also human strategy and bravery. Ehud's story unfolds at a time when the Israelites were oppressed by Eglon, king of Moab, who had imposed his rule over Israel for 18 years. In this context of oppression and suffering, Ahud emerges as a judge and deliverer sent by God to save his people. Ahud is described as a left-handed man, a detail that plays a crucial role in his strategy to defeat King Eglon. In ancient times, being left-handed was less common and often unexpected in combat, giving Ahud an unexpected advantage. He crafted a short double-edged sword, about a cubit in length, and tied it on his right thigh, an unusual place that went unnoticed by the king's guard due to the custom of carrying weapons on the left side. Ahud was selected to deliver Israel's tribute to Eglon, providing the perfect opportunity to execute his plan. After delivering the tribute, Ahud sent his companions back and presented himself alone before Eglon under the pretense of having a secret message from God. Eglon, unsuspecting of the deceit, dismissed his servants, leaving him alone with Ahud. It was at this moment that Ahud drew his sword and assassinated the king, leveraging the element of surprise and his left-handed skill. After killing Eglon, Ahud locked the doors of the hall and escaped. He then gathered the Israelites and led them to a decisive victory over the Moabites, freeing Israel from oppression. The story concludes with the country enjoying 80 years of peace, a testimony to Ehud's effective leadership and divine intervention on behalf of his people. Number 6. Tamar. Tamar was married to the firstborn of Judah. However, was deemed wicked in the Lord's eyes and died, leaving Tamar a childless widow. According to the Levirate law of that time, Onan, brother, was to marry Tamar to produce offspring in his deceased brother's name. But Onan, also disobedient to this obligation, was struck down by the Lord for his actions. Faced with injustice and neglect, Tamar found herself in a desperate situation. Judah, her father-in-law, promised she would marry his third son, Shelah, once he grew up, but failed to keep his promise. Seeing no other options and in an act of courage and cunning, Tamar took matters into her own hands. She disguised herself as a prostitute and positioned herself on the path she knew Judah would take. Unrecognized by Judah, he lay with her, and as payment, Tamar obtained personal items from him, which later served as proof of the fatherhood of the children she would conceive. When it was discovered that Tamar was pregnant, Judah ordered her punishment for what he considered a transgression. However, Tamar presented the items Judah had left as payment, revealing his identity as the father. In the face of this evidence, Judah acknowledged his error and injustice toward Tamar, declaring, "She is more righteous than I." Tamar gave birth to twins, Perez and Zerah, securing not only her place in biblical history but also her role in the genealogical line that would lead to David and, ultimately, to Jesus Christ. Her story is a testament to a woman's resilience and ability to confront and overcome injustices in a patriarchal society. Tamar's determination to secure her right and legacy, along with her ingenious way of confronting and revealing hypocrisy, establishes her as a figure of empowerment and justice. Number 5. Obed Edom. Obed Edom, identified as a Gittite, that is, originating from Gath, enters the biblical narrative at a moment of crisis. After a failed attempt to transport the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem, which resulted in the death of Uzzah for touching the Ark to prevent it from falling, King David decided not to bring the Ark to the city of David but instead took it to the house of Obed Edom. The Ark, representing the tangible presence of God among his people, was a sacred object containing the tablets of the law given to Moses, among other items. For 3 months, the Ark of the Covenant remained in the house of Obed Edom, and during that time, it is said that the Lord blessed Obed Edom and all his household. This brief mention, however, is revealing. Obed Edom's willingness to receive and care for the ark, despite the fear and reverence it inspired, became a source of blessing not just for him but for his entire family. This period of blessing demonstrated that closeness to the divine, lived in respect and holiness, carries a reward that transcends the material. The story of Obed Edom teaches us about the importance of hospitality, faith, and reverence. In an act of faith, he welcomed the ark, the utmost symbol of God's presence, and his home became a blessed space. This narrative invites us to reflect on how we receive and nurture the sacred in our lives. Later, the scriptures tell us that, after this episode, Obed Edom and some of his sons became gatekeepers and musicians in the temple, roles of great honor in the worship of God. This change in his life and that of his family underscores how a transformative encounter with the divine can redirect our paths and legacies. Number 4. Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth, also known as Merib Baal in some biblical translations, was the son of Jonathan and grandson of Saul, the first king of Israel. His story is mainly found in the second book of Samuel, chapters 4 and 9. What makes Mephibosheth's story unique and noteworthy is the tragic turn in his early life, followed by a redemptive act of kindness by David, Saul's successor. Following the deaths of Saul and Jonathan, Mephibosheth, still a child, became crippled in both feet in an accident while fleeing with his nurse. This detail not only marked his life physically but also placed him in a vulnerable position within society and the royal power dynamics of the time. The relationship between David and Jonathan is one of the most profound and moving in the Bible. Jonathan, despite being the legitimate heir to the throne, recognized and respected David's anointing as the future king of Israel, forging an alliance based on mutual respect and brotherly love. Before his death, Jonathan extracted a promise from David to show kindness to his family, a commitment David would honor beyond expectations. Once firmly established as king, instead of exterminating Saul's house to secure his throne, a common practice in those times, David actively seeks out Jonathan's descendants to bless them in honor of his friend. Upon finding Mephibosheth, he not only exempts him from any fear of retribution but also restores to him all Saul's lands and invites him to always eat at his table, treating him as a member of his own family. Number 3. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada. His story, though not as prominent as other biblical heroes, offers a fascinating glimpse into faith, courage, and loyalty. Benaiah is mentioned in the books of Samuel, Kings, and Chronicles, but it is in the second book of Samuel where his exploits are most clearly highlighted, presenting us with a man whose bravery and skills elevated him to positions of great honor in King David's kingdom. One of Benaiah's most notable feats involves a direct confrontation with a lion. The Bible recounts how, on a snowy day, Benaiah went down into a pit and killed a lion. This act not only demonstrates exceptional bravery but also profound faith. Facing a lion, a predator at the top of the food chain, under adverse conditions and in a confined space, is a testament to his extraordinary confidence, both in his own abilities and in his faith in God to deliver victory. Benaiah distinguished himself not only for his bravery but also for his loyalty and skill on the battlefield. He served as the commander of David's guard, a role of great trust and prestige. Later, under Solomon's reign, Benaiah was promoted to commander of the army, replacing Joab. This promotion reflects not only his skill and courage as a warrior but also his integrity and the trust that Kings David and Solomon placed in him. Number 2. Yael. Yael is a biblical character from the book of Judges, specifically in chapter 4. At this time, Israel was oppressed by Jabin, king of Canaan, and his commander, Sisera. Deborah, a prophetess and leader of Israel, along with Barak, an Israeli commander, led Israel against Jabin's forces. However, it's often divine intervention through unexpected acts that signals the turn of events in biblical narratives, and Yael's story is a perfect example of this. Yael, the wife of Eber the Kenite, had established peace with Jabin, the king of Canaan. Despite this alliance, Yael made a pivotal decision that demonstrated not only her allegiance to justice but also her extraordinary bravery. Sisera, fleeing from defeat in battle against Barak's forces, sought refuge in Yael's tent. She welcomed him, offering shelter and safety, an act that, in the context of the era's hospitality, was a deep act of trust and respect. However, aware of the harm Sisera represented to Israel, Yael took advantage of a moment of vulnerability when he was resting, to execute an act of divine justice. With a tent peg and a hammer, Yael ended Sisera's oppression over Israel, driving the peg through his temple while he slept. This bold act not only marked the end of Jabin's oppression over Israel but also revealed God's instrumentality through unexpected individuals to fulfill his purposes. Number 1. Etna. It's worth noting, first and foremost, that the figure of Etna is not widely recognized within traditional biblical narratives, leading us into a realm of symbolic interpretation and spiritual searching beyond written records. The mention of Etna here invites deep reflection on those aspects of faith and spirituality often left unexplored, symbolizing the lesser-known characters and elements of the Bible that offer equally valuable teachings. Etna represents those moments of silent faith and personal dedication that, though not documented in the pages of sacred history, form the essential fabric of human spiritual experience. Her story reminds us that true faith often resides in the unsaid, in acts of kindness and devotion that seek no recognition but are offered as a pure expression of love and obedience to the divine. The symbolic figure of Etna teaches us the importance of personal faith, one that does not need to be seen or recognized by others to be true and powerful. It encourages us to find our own connection with the divine, beyond established narratives and conventional religious practices. It invites us to consider how our own stories, though they may seem insignificant in the grand scheme of things, are essential to the vast and rich tradition of human faith.